This is the best of VOCM Open Line with Brian Callahan.
Let's go right to line number one and welcome St. John City Councillor Kate Cadigan, the lead on transportation engineering and mobility in the city of St. John's. Good morning, Councillor Cadigan.
Good morning. How are you, Brian?
I'm pretty good. It's Friday.
It's Friday. That's right. We're at the end of the week, which is always a good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, I always keep in mind, of course, not everybody has the 9 to 5 Monday, Friday, but the majority of us still have that and may have extra gigs on the go, as we know people do as well. But Friday is Friday, so I love it. Always puts me in a positive mood. Councillor, thanks for making yourself available. I just wanted to discuss a little more. You know, there's always been talk, and this goes to construction and road work, and specifically Airport Heights and the major path reorganization that's going with the new roundabout going in there. And the work that'll continue through the summer and into the fall. We've got the overnight construction option. And I know some people called for that right out of the gate when this work was first announced. I know Councillor Bruce, of course, being her ward, she had alluded to it, and, you know, that things would be fluid and they'd see how it goes. And this seems to be a change mid-construction. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so in our last regular meeting, Council approved a limited exemption of the noise bylaw to allow kind of sporadic overnight work for the Airport Heights construction project. So like Councillor Bruce kind of alluded to, it is a little bit fluid. It depends on what work the contractor is looking at doing, and if it's, you know, appropriate to do that overnight, so that we can limit the impact during the day on residents trying to move through that busy intersection.
Yeah, and we know on the best of days that can be busy and white knuckle going through there. So obviously, and the construction and this project bears that out for all those good reasons. So this has nothing to do with actually, you know, meeting timelines and all that kind of stuff. This is purely for the, you know, to relieve the aggravation, if you will.
Yeah, so it might expedite some of the process,
Sure.
And it doesn't come to an additional cost to the city, which is always a bonus. But really, there are some things involved with this construction project that would really impact the flow of traffic during the day. So things like moving light poles and some of the culvert work that's happening up there. And our goal is kind of to limit the impact, because we know, you know, the area is already feeling the pressure of the construction in the area. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to do our best to kind of alleviate as much of that as we can with this exemption.
So just to be clear, when will the overnight work begin, and what are the exact hours that it would be ongoing, say, with, I guess it'd be quite a bit of lighting there and that sort of thing for safety reasons and for alertness for drivers that do go through, because the airport is there and that's a 24/7 operation.
Absolutely, yeah. So the exemption has already started, and folks can expect the overnight work to take place between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. Until November 30th, 2026. But notices will be posted if there is overnight work to be expected. And as always, we encourage our residents to check out the Engage page for any updates on major construction projects as well, as there's always new information coming through there.
So I know there were schedules laid out when the work was first announced, and the times of day and when one lane will be reduced and all that sort of thing. Will there be additional reductions while the overnight work is going, or will kind of the laneways change? Is there any flux there?
Off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure. I think there's a chance that some of the lanes will be further reduced as traffic will be lighter and, you know, it brings less impact. But it really depends on what they're looking to do that day. I know the project is changing on a day-to-day basis as there's so many moving parts. So it really depends on what they're looking to tackle that evening.
Yeah, and you mentioned no extra costs. That seems to always enter into this. A lot of people, you know, they'll call for overnight construction, whether it's up on Outer Ring or anywhere else. So that's good news. How do you manage to do that? I mean, doesn't it cost more at night to do the work? And it would be additional hours, right? So.
Yeah, it must be an agreement with the contractor.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the exact details of the agreement, but either way, you're right. It is always a bonus when there's no additional cost to these kinds of things, and that's certainly something we're really happy about.
So something that would have probably been built in as a contingency in the contract to begin with, not like they'd have to go in and rejig things.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Listen, thanks for that. It was thanks for being available right off the top of the show. Overnight construction, there's a lot of people calling out for it. So maybe this could spur other, looks at other projects that do disrupt traffic. God knows traffic is a tough one for a lot of people, right? I mean, our nerves are frayed in so many ways, and it shouldn't be. We stay in our own little headspace and remember that driving safety is the first consideration as opposed to frustration. I think we'll all be just fine. But this is just one of those overnight construction things that it can be done, clearly. And good on the city for doing it, and good on you for being available. Thanks so much for this morning. And
thank you so much for having me.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go right to line number 2, and welcome to the program, Dave Penny, board member with the NL Folk Arts Society. And where else do I go with that? Dave, one of Newfoundland and Labrador's finest and funniest storytellers, accordionist, donut maker, Parks Canada employee, you name it. Dave, what's on the go?
Did you?
I'm glad you started there. Thank you. No, not Baz, but I'll take it.
Did you? The last time I called the open line was in '97 when all the provincial parks closed. It was a disastrous call. I think it was Bill Rowe. I said, I want to know why the province is shutting down all the parks. And he said, to save money, I guess. And I said, yeah,
Yeah, that could be the answer to any of those questions, hey? To save money.
I just froze, yeah. I hung up.
Yeah, well, on Bill? You hung up on Bill that day?
Yeah, I was terrified.
Oh,
but anyway, I'm not calling about the parks today.
And you're not hanging up?
No, I'm not going to hang up either,
No, we're talking about yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Friends of the Festival fundraiser that we're having on Sunday night. It's for the Newfoundland and Labrador Folk Arts Society. Friends of the festival being the Newfoundland and Labrador Folk Festival, of course, in Bannerman Park. That started 49 years ago. This would have been the 50th, and in a way it is the 50th. We got to see where this fundraiser goes, but anyway, that's what I'm here to talk about that specifically.
Yeah, and look, I know there's going to be a lot of old farts like me and others taking in this one because of if for nothing else, the nostalgia of it, and because there's going to be more legends at the St. John's Convention Centre on Sunday night than you can shake a stick at. Look, we're talking about original members of Figgy Duff and Anita Best, of course, Sandy Morris, Jim Payne, Fergus O'Byrne, Matthew Byrne, Reuben Rake, Sherman Downey, and the list goes on, and including yourself. Dave, what do you got in hopper for Sunday night? Any special surprises or big tricks, or there'll be lots of laughs, I'm sure of that?
No, I'm just going to be bumming around doing doing voluntary stuff.
Yeah. Well,
there are a lot of us, after all.
Oh, absolutely. And I have I don't know what to call it, but the thrill of hosting it and emceeing it. So you may not think you're coming up to the microphone, but you may very well be, just as a heads up.
We'll see.
How important is this, Dave? Like, in your own mind, look, let's get back to the Folk Festival. We all know the story here. It just got away from us a little bit financially, and in the view of all the other big events that go on. How important is it to save this festival?
I can't even describe it. It's such a game. It's such a game changer. It's such a life changer for so many people, including myself. A lot of people, and like I say, including me, you go to the folk festival and then, boom, it gets you into, it might get you into the music in the first place. It might get you more seriously into it, if you're playing. You see a lot of the same characters, a lot of the same performers. A lot of us have been volunteering for all these years. And it's always great to pick up some new, friends at a festival kind of thing. It really tends to be something that you go back to. Unless you're visiting here, of course, which is a brilliant time for them as well.
Right, because then there's no better way to get a taste of what our real, originally, our folk culture was. It's gotten away from us a little bit. There's a lot of reasons for that. No one in particular excuse or anyone to blame, but it's we got to get back to the roots, if you ask me. I mean, it did get big and it was fine, and we had some great performers. You look at Steve Earle And look, I can go on down the list of the big acts that we went looking for, kind of in the same vein of the other big festivals that are on the go. But I love the idea of getting back to our roots, bring it back to the simplicity that it was. And, you know, more than anything, I'm thinking in my head, as you said, right, the usual suspects will come out, and the players and the attendees, but I'm really hoping to see a lot of younger folk block the place on Sunday night, you know, that's where you get, right? Yeah. I mean, that's how it sustains itself. We got to get them while they're young and remind them of where all this came from. And before our legends are gone, you know, I mean, I don't want to be so negative, but I mean, you know, we're all getting up there.
No.
You know?
No, that's fact. That's a fact, and I remember too when I was, you know, when I was a kid or a teenager. You know, I just assumed, because I grew up in Mount Pearl, I just assumed, because I wasn't in town when the folk festival was on the go here. I used to spend my summers out in Terra Nova, and like I don't know, I just assumed that there was, I don't know, all the music was gone. Ryan Fancy and all them, you know, were disbanded.
Sons of Aaron.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought, you know, I just thought the few bands I knew was all that was left. And then I went to the festival and, what is this? And then it kind of opened up all kinds of doors. So you're right, but it's great when you see new, young people involved, because the go-to place around here, at least, is in the bars. And of course, you know, if you're not 19, you can't get in there, and you know, and in fact, that's something else we're going to be working on as soon as we can, getting things on the go for younger people too.
Well, yeah, and I mean, look at Fergus O'Byrne, right? I mean, the young folk at the hall.
Yeah.
I mean, all that kind of stuff. That's how we build that back up and get back to the roots, right? Start planting the roots again, so that we can have these sorts of things. I'm like you, Dave. I grew up in the West End of town, so I didn't, you know, I couldn't be called a downtown or a folky guy or anything like that. Traditional, you know, the West End kind of had this, you know, outside the boundaries of all of that. So I immediately, but I was drawn to it like you wouldn't believe. I mean, we had it all on in the house. Dad always had the 8 tracks in the station wagon with the Sons of Aaron and all the, you know, you name it, back to Dick Nolan and all the rest of it. But look, I was listening to all that growing up, but I was in the West End. So when I was old enough, I moved downtown, and that's when it was. I spent more time just in awe of watching these legends. Couldn't get into the Strand, but I could sneak into the Ship every now and then. But to see these, you know, to see legends play. And so this is full circle for me as well. Massive part of my life, massive part of Newfoundland culture that we cannot lose and we have to preserve, and the people coming out for this one. So, yeah, I've got all the deets here, but I mean, you've taken the time to call us today. What else should people know about what you know about tickets or anything like that?
Yeah, well, the tickets are $50 anyway. You can get the tickets at the Convention Center website. You can get them at the NL Folk website. You know, you're better off to Google Friends of the Festival Newfoundland or Newfoundland and Labrador Folk Art Society or whatever. Or if you follow us on socials, you know, you can easily find your way there. So there's no excuse to not find the link to get the tickets.
No, absolutely.
And if all else fails, or if you don't like linky, you know, online purchasing, just go down and get your ticket at the gate, at the door.
Yep, absolutely.
You mentioned who's playing already, but I'm just going to say it again.
Do it.
It's amazing. Jim Payne and Fergus O'Byrne, Sandy Morrison and Nita Best, Matthew Burns, Zainab Wilson, Reuben Rake, Sherman Downey, and from Figgy Duff, Kelly Russell, Pam Morgan, and Dave Panting. Right, and the doors open at 6. The show starts at 7.
Yeah,
and it's 19 plus because,
Yeah, no, 19 plus, that's, you know, as it would be for a fundraiser, but, you know, we get the festival back and it'll be all ages, no question. Let's say the adults do all the grunt work here now, but love to see the younger folk down there for sure. And there are pre-sales for merchandise online.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, I got a big circle around the word merch on my cheat sheet here, but yeah.
Me too.
We got T-shirts, Friends of the Festival T-shirts. The graphic for the poster and the T-shirts, Judd Haynes made those, and it's fantastic.
Yep.
And we got tote bags too, like you mentioned. So if you go to our website, NL Folk, .ca, then you will get, or on the social media, then you could easily find your way to the link to get the merch.
Yep, any combination of folk, festival, and fundraiser will get you there if you do a simple Google. And again, just a reminder, we're fundraising. This is a big fundraiser toward, reducing the debt that has built up over years. And we don't know really what the plan is for this year yet. It should be said that this is all toward planning for the actual 50th Park Festival, Folk Festival, back in Bannerman Park for next year. And we'll call that the 50th. Yep. So there may be something very well this year, depending on how well all this goes. But this is all geared towards next year. And that's important to know, because the planning needs to be, we need to really rejig this and put it back to what it was meant to be in the first place, eh?
Yeah. Well, it's geared towards next year, but it's also very much geared towards this year.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, we're
absolutely.
really excited about whatever we have.
Yep.
It's going to be fantastic. Anywhere where there's music, it's going to be great. Anyway, especially accordions.
Yes.
Anyway, so no, but it is a debt reduction fundraiser, and then whatever we do at the park is going to be brilliant. There's going to be all kinds of we're going around with the tap machines, so you can make your donations there while you're down there, or donate on the website if you can't make it to the show.
Absolutely, and then watch the fruits of our labor come to fruition over this year and next. Clean her all up, get her back to scratch, back to start, back to the roots, back to the beginning, and gear her up again and get this back to what it was in the beginning and every year. Can't wait.
That's right. And a huge thanks to everybody who's already involved.
Yep, absolutely. All the people who are donating time and volunteer, as yourself and everyone else.
Yep. Grand.
And we'll see you on Sunday night.
Right on.
Absolutely. Dave Penny, thanks a lot, man. NL Folk Arts Society's interim board member, resident donut maker. See you at the Farmers Market too, maybe.
Right on, yeah.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go right to line number one. And Walter Harding, you're on the air.
Good day, Brian. How are you, sir?
I'm going to say this is going to be a repetitive mantra, but it's Friday.
It's Friday. Brian,
I love my job. But it's Friday. Go for it.
Absolutely. Before I get to my quick, can I have 30 seconds just to make a quick comment on the goings-on at our City Hall?
You certainly can.
Okay.
Sure.
I appreciate that. I wasn't there, of course, to whatever happened between Councillor Tom Davis and Ellsworth and maybe some other people. All I will say is, as a follower of my city's responsibilities and decisions, I'm not shy about sending emails, and I'm not shy, and they're not rude emails, they're just ideas and best practices, etc. And I have found that Councillor Tom Davis, I've had multiple conversations with him over various issues in the city, and while we don't always agree, and that's a very healthy thing because listening is learning, I found Tom, Mr. Davis, to be incredibly polite, engaging, very respectful, and most importantly, what I get from Mr. Davis is that he's interested in hearing what I have to say. So the acceptance is there, the apology is there, and now the forgiveness should be there for all members of council. My advice to them is, there's a lot of heavy lifting to do here in this city. There's a lot of work to do, especially for, part-time councillors. I'm not a fan of that, but that's the way it is. So park the egos and park the personalities and just get to work. It's behind us. It's in the rearview mirror, and for the benefit of everybody who lives here and works here and shops here and visits here, let's get back to work.
Yeah, I agree. The very nature of it and what we don't know is more than what we do know. So it's hard to pass judgment other than to say that if you take everybody for their word, they have seemed to take the advice that you just said. They're going to deal with this. They're going to move on. Tom's still a councillor. Let's hope cooler heads prevail. We can just all get along, as long as it's not disagreeing on policy and that sort of thing. I mean, they have to make tough decisions all the time, and I'm with you. I like Tom for his, he'll just say it as it is, and it raises eyebrows for a lot of people, only because that sort of doesn't always happen. When the lights go on and the cameras go on for the public meetings, they've already had their private meetings, where they discuss what they're going to discuss, and oftentimes that's it's very rare that there's something unusual or there is a conflict that comes before us in public. But this kind of issue, again, there's too much in the weeds that I don't know about. We'll just have to take everyone's word for it, and as you said, let's move on and get to work.
I appreciate very much one thing about Mr. Davis, and that's, like, some people would say that he speaks out. I would replace the word out with he speaks up. And that's why we elect people to speak up, whether it's best practices or sustainable development or fiscal responsibility, wetlands protection, whatever it is. Tom speaks up about it. And I don't know if that rubs people the wrong way, but that's what he's paid to do. So, again, I'm with you. Let's move on and let's get to work.
Love it. Let's go talk dog poop.
Yeah, just a very quick thing.
I laugh,
we have done our best all spring to try to make our city as pretty as it can be, and we get I always say the dirtier we get, the cleaner our city gets. Coffee cups, pull tabs, and poop bags. That's
And
it's
needles.
amazing to me that people will actually take the time to pick up the poop, put it in the bag, and then as soon as someone's not looking, they'll just flick it in to wherever they want to flick it. I hope I don't sound rude, but and even worse is when, it's very clear that you're not permitted to be on our outdoor recreational facilities, our diamonds and our soccer fields. I mean, kids and adults go in and they're throwing the ball around and they slide to get the soccer ball. Next thing they're up with a big streak of poop on their leg and stuff. So to be a responsible pet owner and not only pick up after it, but bring it to a facility, bring it to a garbage bin or wherever you're going. You're going home, so bring it home and put it in your own garbage bin. But even more importantly, if you can, please don't use our recreational outdoor facilities for your dog's bathroom. If he does or she does do it, you're not supposed to be there anyway, but at the very least, pick it up. But please don't leave it there. There's still way far too many occurrences of just feces all over the field. It's unsanitary, it's not healthy, it spreads diseases, and of course it feeds the rodents. So your dog poops, you pick it up, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, let's hope so. Rules are there, and we know it doesn't always, whether it's off leash or whether it's to poop. And you're right, people will, if they see someone coming, they might pick it up. If they don't, they're probably just walking on. We all see that, and and there are. Look, the city does go out of their way. We got those little bags, that are there on a lot of walking trails. What can you say? A lot of people just think, oh, it's poop, it's good for the grass. Well, no, not especially as you said.
Yeah, right.
Well, especially you. No, really, though. People are, it's good. It's fertilizer. No, it's especially the main point you make, of course, are our sports facilities and that sort of thing. There's a big one right next to my house, and big signs: no dogs, pick up after your animals. And every day there's 2 or 3 down there with their dogs running free. So what do? You can't have enforcement everywhere. You just hope that by having calls like yourself, just reminding people, getting it in their psyche that it does matter. It's gross. It's not doing your part as a responsible citizen in the city, and clean it up.
Couldn't say it better myself, Brian. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go to line 3, and let's see. Caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm great for Friday. It's going to be a ad nauseum refrain from me today, but there it is. It's Friday. Love it.
Gotcha. I want to talk about the idea of the school board implementing the hour early start time in the mornings.
Yeah, the bell
starting at 8:05 as opposed to most start at 9ish, somewhere around there.
Yeah, just before you get going. I just want to remind people that this is, of course, the bell times. There is a proposal put forth, and this is through Transportation Infrastructure, talking about moving back the bell times to account for busing, more available busing efficiencies, routes, congestion in parking lots, on and on and on, all having to do with the busing situation. And like some schools, I know that Holy Family has a proposed full hour earlier bus start time. But it ranges from 15 minutes to about an hour, I think. And then they take that off the end of the day. So it's an earlier start and an earlier end of the day, basically, is what they're proposing.
Yeah, I'm speaking as a bus driver. I don't have any children in school age anymore, so this is strictly from my perspective. They have to take into account the winter months because, as you know, during the winter, the mornings are dark as it is. So if you move back an hour, it's going to be that much darker again. And I think it's dangerous for kids to be out walking around and trying to maneuver the sidewalks and the school parking lots in the pitch black. Mm-hmm. Another thing is often I find during the winter months and snow days, I notice that the parking lots and the streets are not plowed. So, those kids are going to have to be picked up like 7 in the morning if they want an 8:05 start time. So I just think it's dangerous. Another thing is a lot of parents have their kids in after-school programs. So the school dismisses an hour early in the afternoons, say 2 o'clock as opposed to 3. The parents are going to end up paying more for their after-school program for that extra hour. And you might not even get school programs cooperating with that time change, because a lot of the people that work in these after-school programs are young adults. And so they have to get off their school time as well. So I just think it's going to be a catastrophe in terms of snow clearing and kids running around in the dark. I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, there's a lot of words. I again, and I'm a words guy. So catastrophe to me is something really, really devastatingly tragic. This could upset the apple cart absolutely and change a lot of families' schedules. Could have a lot of impacts on all of those things you just said. And just to make it very clear, as the department pointed out, I want to make it very clear that this is proposed for not this year, but the following year, 27, 28. So, and there is a survey. So this is good. This is communication on behalf of the government, on behalf of the department. And there is a survey that parents can go to, and I know it's been distributed, through staff, students, families across NL schools and the various school systems to get the input, such as yours. So, those are all important. I imagine we'll see a lot of repetition from the issues that you just mentioned, which is important, whether it's the safety and the times of day and how it can change schedules. It's important, especially coming from a school bus driver like yourself. You'd have unique insight into that.
Thank you. I just thought that a lot of parents, maybe they never thought of that issue, and that might, hopefully, they're listening, and hopefully that might sway their decision and vote against this, because, like I said, the kids standing on unplowed sidewalks in the morning waiting for a school bus in the dark, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, my child is no longer of that age, but I can appreciate it. Absolutely, I can't imagine. It's and winter, our weather, and all that sort of thing. But look, this survey is for that very reason, and thank goodness it's not this year, so they'll have time to review that and maybe put in these kinds of changes and contingencies. If they're going to do that, then those routes have to be looked at for snow clearing and extra and earlier times for plows, maybe, and whatever, and salting, not insulting. And so the survey itself takes about 3 to 5 minutes to complete. So if you're worried about this, you're listening to it, you're going, I'm in paradise. Do I want school opening? Do I want my child to have to be there an hour earlier? And what does that mean for my family and my schedule and my work and getting to work and daycare or whatever? And school dismissal, as you said, just as important as getting them in. So you can share the opinions up until, and you have until Sunday, June the 14th. At midnight. So the 14th, so this is the 5th, so about 9 days left. It's not a lot of left time, because this is just really coming to my attention this week. But just up till the 14th, you have time to fill out that survey. So if you see it come home with your email from the school that you get at the end of the week, maybe like I get, there'll be a link in there. And if you don't have access to that link and you're looking for more information, you can certainly get it from us here at Open Line.
Well, the city is going to have to improve their snow clearing in the morning, because often mornings now, with a regular start time, I make tracks on my street and, in the bus, and I'm the first one to travel over. There's no snow plow in sight, especially the sidewalk. Can you imagine? Like I said, I don't mean to be repetitive, but I can't imagine, especially the elementary school kids, trying to maneuver the sidewalks that are not plowed in the dark. Oh my gosh. Anyway, have a good weekend, Brian.
No, listen, I appreciate it. The city, the municipalities, and the Department of Transportation Infrastructure, I'm sure they'll all work together on this. That would be the smart thing to do, to make sure of those sorts of things, because some of this is under the cities or the towns, the municipalities, and some would come under with the provincial and when you're in more rural areas of the province. So thanks again for the call. I always love calls from bus drivers. You see it all out there, so thanks again.
Okay, have a good one.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Well, right to line number 5, and the president and the chief executive officer of the Janeway Children's Hospital Foundation, Rebecca Dutton, you're on the air.
Good morning. How are you?
I am grand on a Friday, especially as the eve of the big event. How you feeling? This is a big weekend.
It is. It's huge for us. I'm good. I'm excited. Busy. We're very busy. We are pretty busy. I was getting emails from my colleagues late into the night last night and early in the morning this morning.
I can't imagine. You're into the nitty-gritty here now. So what's left to do? I mean, look, this is, how many years is this now we've actually had the telethon, Rebecca?
42. 42 years. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So I'm editing cue cards right now, actually.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, we want to make sure that the hosts know who to introduce and what's coming next and all that stuff. Like, it really is, it's a full production, right? Like, it's a really, really long television show. And we have to keep it on time, and we have to keep it moving quickly and entertaining and all of that. So it's all hands on deck these last few days.
It's organized mayhem. I've been on set a few times when that's been going on in the studio down there behind NTV and NTV's backstage. What's the number of the studio again? They call it the
107.
107. I should have got that. I've been in there when people are coming and going, and you got a tight schedule, and you're bringing them in and out with the big fake check. Well, not fake checks, but the big what's the
novelty
word?
Checks,
novelty or ceremonial checks. Yeah. So any idea what's our goal this year? Do you actually have a goal, or is we just getting to the point where whatever we can get?
To be honest, it's whatever we can get, because it raises about half of what we need to raise throughout the year, or what we've committed to the Janeway, because we really can't ever raise enough, to be honest. Last year, I want to say, they had about $10.7 million in things that they needed, and we can't raise $10.7 million in a year. It would be amazing if we could get to 6. So this event raises, if we can get to $3 million, that would be spectacular. The week after telethon last year, we did get to $3 million, and so it would be amazing. We always want to push and see how much money we can raise, because then that gets us more of the equipment on the list that we have. Ideally, if we can raise about $6 million in the run of a year, then we can take a big chunk of the things that the Janeway needs. But it just, technology changes constantly, and we need more and more things, and there are things we just don't have in Newfoundland and Labrador that they have in every other jurisdiction in this country for their children, and we want to make sure that we have as much of it as we can here, and we can do as much as we can here in Newfoundland and Labrador for our kids.
Is there a specific item that you're shooting for this time? I mean, in this age of the robotics and AI and MRIs and on and on and on it goes. Is there anything like a specific target for a particular piece of equipment that you're setting your sights on this year?
There are a few different things. So we have some equipment in emergency, in the emergency room. We have some equipment in diagnostic imaging, and we have some equipment in surgical and perioperative. And then and in each of these, so one example is point-of-care ultrasound. So we want our physicians in our emergency room to be able to see inside the child. Instead of sending them off to diagnostic imaging, waiting to get that information back, we want the physicians to be able to have that in hand, like you see on TV, to be able to look inside and go, oh, that's an appendix. That's what's going on. That's not just a pulled muscle in that child's stomach, so that they can make decisions immediately. So that point-of-care ultrasound, it's not just the ultrasound, it's the training for the physicians, because, they're not the technologists that normally do this. So we want to make sure that they have that. And they have it other places. We just got it in the NICU last year. So we want to make sure that our children's hospital has that. And the new technology is better and faster, more efficient, uses all this, newfangled stuff that you see on TV. And there's no reason that our children's hospital can't have it and shouldn't have it, and making our kids better quicker.
Yeah, and who doesn't want that when it comes to our children?
Exactly.
And speaking of that, how a good portion you're going to have to shout out to your 2026 champion child, Carly McDonald. She's been quite the ambassador. Had her on the show the other day. She alone can probably get you over the top. Huh?
Absolutely. Well, you'll see her all weekend. Yeah. She's so excited. She's got all of her outfits picked out. She makes sure anytime she and I are on television together that I know what color she's going to be wearing. so that we can coordinate. She is a force. We cannot wait to see how she takes this on over the next couple of days.
Well, if there's anything like so far, and those commercials with Tony are just wicked. They're just, oh my God. If you're not tuning in or donating, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
I will say this.
Good.
It's Janeway's near and dear to my heart. As an infant, I had a lot of serious issues and ended up to Montreal and back. So I owe that to the Janeway. And then to show my thanks, I put the place up when I was 10 or 12 years old in there for some serious dental work. And I apologize almost every day. This is the old Janeway, I should say.
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
The issues that I would have today would be great, or it would just be off the charts. So, I have a lot to owe to the Janeway personally myself.
So this is it. You've touched on a couple different things. I mean, things as what we kind of think is simple as dental work, it's really complicated in children. And if you don't get those sort of things corrected appropriately in childhood, it leads to all sorts of issues in adulthood, not even just, from a pain perspective, but there are heart conditions that are caused by poor dental health and,
sure.
and so it is, we know that if we don't deal with what might come off as simple issues in childhood, they have massive complications when you enter adulthood and, in our seniors population. So that is something. And then, keeping kids happy and calm in a children's hospital is really important. We talk about our assisted therapy dog, Hobbs. Hobbs is going to be interviewed on the telethon this weekend. But honestly, children who see Hobbs coming and who can be calmed by Hobbs can have a completely different experience and don't necessarily put the place up in the same way, and and are more comfortable with their health care. And, so it's not just because we want the place to be fun and pretty and enjoyable. When kids are more receptive to their health care, they're not putting the place up, and are calmer. They don't need sedation in the same way. Everything is faster. Parents are in and out quicker and back to work quicker. Kids are back to school quicker. All of those things happen, and then it's healthier for the child. So when you walk in and you see, kids are seeing a whale hang from the ceiling, or running around and playing at the ship, or whatever it might be, they're enjoying themselves at the hospital. They're more willing to hop up on the chair and have whatever it is that they need to have done in 10 or 15 minutes, and everything stays on track. You can schedule more children in. You can do all of those things. So children's health is different, right? You can't reason with a child the same way you can reason with an adult. So, we take all that kind of stuff into account when we're investing in a children's hospital.
Much like health, much like education, get it early, correct any issues that you might see, and just bodes well for their overall life experience. Rebecca, I've got about less than a minute left. So Saturday, June 6th from 5:30 to 9:30, and Sunday the 7th from 12 p.m. to 7. Is that correct on NTV?
That is correct. NTV, NTV Plus, streaming online. You can go on our website, janewayfoundation.nf.ca, and watch it via stream. You can give online on our website right now. You can call in. So many ways to get involved in health.
Thanks so much for this and all of the work you do at the foundation. I can't imagine. This is the big weekend, so good luck. Break lots of legs, and well over that mark. Forget the target mark. Let's just go well over it and forget about where we got to go and just go as far as you can.
Let's hope. So hope over 3 million. Keep our fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. Thanks again, Rebecca Dutton. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go right to line number 2. And Ramona, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm sorry to have to bring this up this morning. Anything going on in the States, I try to stay away from it as much as I can. This anti-weaponizing fund is just boggles my mind to think that he's trying to get funds to pay off his thugs. That's exactly what it is. We can all see it. It's so clear. And he has a lawsuit against himself because he knows he's the one that ordered those people to do that. He can't get out of that. And it's just, it just boggles my mind what's going on in the States. And I am concerned about us too because it's leaking over here.
Oh, Ramona, no, I just wanted to give you space to talk and to speak about this. So this is the concept, the fund, call it the Anti-Weaponization Fund. This comes from a settlement. So the IRS, the CRA in the United States, of course, Trump filed a lawsuit against them over leaking of his tax returns. So as part of this, there was a settlement that was with Trump, and as part of that agreement, beyond the actual settlement, Trump and the administration proposed almost a $2 billion fund, and that was aimed at reimbursing people that they thought were victims of, that Trump believes were victims of this political quote-unquote weaponization. And it's not just during his administration, interestingly, so I'll point that out. But mainly the pushback, of course, is he wanted to reimburse people who were found to be, the instigators, the real causers of the January 6th uprising, if you will, and attack on the Capitol in the United States. And so, they were going to use some of that money to reimburse these, for lack of a better word, criminals. Exactly.
And he's... he's filing a lawsuit against himself.
Pretty much.
I mean, this is so... I don't know what to say about it. It's unbelievable because he's the guilty one anyway. He's the one that ordered those people to do what they do, and he knows that. And they know it.
But people forget it so easily. I mean, it was all there. We're going to go to the Capitol and we're going to fight.
Yeah, exactly. They were following his orders, and he's responsible, and this is what it's all about.
Yep.
And he's want to bail out his thugs.
Yeah, like 1,600 of them. I mean, there were 1,700 people arrested that day. We all remember them breaking the windows, breaking into the Capitol building, threatening the senators and congressmen, and looking for the Vice President Pence to hang him with a noose that they had with them. And we forget too quickly of how this actually happened.
Oh, we can't forget. We can't. I wish we could.
Yeah. What do you think of his triumphal arch that he wants to put on the mall in Washington?
Oh, that is just crazy.
He feels like such
it's gone way beyond anything that I ever thought would happen in our society, in the democratic society.
And Ramona, you said off the top, that you can't, believe that. You'd rather not have to pay attention to any of this stuff. And I'm with you. The time was when we could, not pay attention to it. It was just, the politics of the of the United States, very different from Canada in many ways. But we ignore it today at our peril. I mean, we have no choice, whether or not it's the effect on cost of living through the war in Iran, whether or not, like the immigration policies, the tariff policies, new tariffs again this week. We're trying to walk this line to be able to still have a relationship with the United States despite all this. And it's not an easy task for our government or for the Prime Minister. And, we can, get on them for the cost of living all we want. But I challenge anyone else who would have been in to make it any better to this point, considering what happened in the past 2 years and under the previous Trump administration and the current one.
Not only us, the whole world is involved in this. I mean, everybody is affected. It's just beyond anything that I could even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
And we don't have enough stuff on our plate as it is. It'd be nice to be able to ignore this, but it does affect us in different ways, and it's good to at least keep an eye on it and what's happening, because it does affect us. So,
well, it definitely affects our society and all the hate and that he's the violence that he's promoting, right? You know what we try to teach our children, the way to behave, and he goes against all of it.
Yeah, there's an angry meanness, hatred that's coming out. I was going to say metastasizing, whatever you want to call it. It's,
oh my God, it is.
It's getting into people's psyche, and sadly, it's connecting with some people. Some people are gravitating to it. Some people are very frustrated with all parts of government these days, and this spoke to them. Trump style. And so then there's clearly it spoke to millions and millions, because, if his election was not rigged, then, it spoke to the millions and millions that voted for him and believe in the things that he stands for. And that's just a little bit disconcerting, upsetting, troubling. You call it what you want.
Yeah, it's emboldening all the bullies out there and all the people who are upset and angry
and the insurrectionists, including himself. So we forget some quickly, but look, we try to promote good news on this show.
I know you've been doing very good this morning, but I had to phone with this negativity.
No, I do want to make it very clear that stuff that's on your mind should still be expressed on this show. That's what it's always been about.
I'm worried, so I am concerned for us too. So
and look, governments talk about being able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We can do that here on the show as well. So.
Yes, we can do it too.
Yep. Okay.
We can do it.
Ramona,
we'll do it.
Anything else that you want to do before we let you go?
No, thanks.
Okay.
That's good. Got that off my chest.
Yep, I'm glad.
Thanks.
Absolutely. I'm glad that we have that vessel for you here to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, indeed.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line with Brian Callahan.
Let's go right to line number 3. Joanne Thompson, the MP for St. John's East, the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans and responsible for the Canadian Coast Guard.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Fine. Thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I really appreciate the chance to call in and look forward to saying that the House in Parliament is winding down. So I look forward to being home for longer periods this summer. So let me tell you, it's been a good year, but a busy year and one that I wish I had been home more. But that said, I want to let your listeners know that today, if they received the GST credit in January, and there's 180,000 Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who did, they will receive a payment today through the Canada Groceries and Essential Benefit. Excuse me, and I flew in late last night. So in essence, what this means is today they will receive a one-time payment that will be equal to 50% of their annual GST credit value, which is significant. And then in July, in just a few weeks' time, the Canada Groceries and Essential Benefit will continue to provide a permanent 25% increase over the former GST credit. So this is a targeted relief for people that we know are struggling right now with the cost of living, and this is intended to really be a tangible support for them.
Absolutely, and oh my gosh, we know it these days, Minister Thompson, every little bit helps, and not only every little bit, but the increases that have been noted, as you did with the top up first, and then the additional 25% as it gets going on a quarterly basis. Can I shift right away to a few topics that, of course, have dominated the airwaves here on Open Line in the past few weeks, and I'm sure you're aware, the food fishery being one of them. And I know you don't have a lot of time, so I'll just cut right to the chase. So the changes that were announced, 7 days a week for areas of the province, Eastern NL and Southern Labrador. But, of course, I'm sure you've heard the disappointment that the South and West Coasts are still limited to 3 days a week, Monday, Saturday, and Tuesday, I think it is. And it's, there seems to be, across the board, a disappointment with the inequity of that. And why can't it be the same for all areas of the province? Your answer.
Well, thank you. And actually, I really appreciate you asked this question because it's an important one. First of all, I want to thank all Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who took part in the survey, record number for any DFO survey. And it really speaks about how important this food fishery is to us. And I also wanted to acknowledge that overwhelmingly, and this is in the What We Heard report, because I think the transparency in this process is incredibly important, people understand sustainability and the need for conservation. The reality is, on the West Coast and the South Coast, cod is in a critical zone. On the West Coast of the province, harvesters are tied up at the wharf. This is their livelihood. And we need to be incredibly mindful that while we have food available for the food fishery, because it is important, at the same time, we have to allow the cod to come back. We cannot do anything that will harm the cod stock in a manner that will impede their health. We want a healthy stock on the West Coast and on the South Coast, and I heard that from Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. And frankly, that's the reason why we had to make a different allocation based on the health of the stock, and we want that stock to get back in the healthy zone.
But I'm sure you can appreciate the safety concerns here. People will look at the other areas, they'll wonder what kind of real impact the food fishery or the recreational or the residential that some people want to call it can possibly have when you compare the safety aspect, because we know people consider this, a traditional livelihood adventure and action and activity that we've had for years and years and years. And when they're told, that in one section of Newfoundland you can't, but in other parts of the Maritimes you can, and then they compare the conservation side, the numbers and the science, it really comes back to people pushing the safety aspect of this. And they can go out a few days, but you can't go out other days. And what if those few days the weather is shite, for lack of a better word?
So and thank you, and I really appreciate the chance to break this down for your listeners. First of all, cod holds a completely different value for us in Newfoundland and Labrador than the rest of the Maritimes. So we value cod in a much different way, and so how we fish is completely different. To your point, I was very clear that we opened the fishery on Canada Day, Memorial Day here in Newfoundland and Labrador, to Labor Day, and then the fall fishery continues exactly as it always has. And I certainly understand that there, and I've heard from people on the difference from the northern cod to the cod on the south coast and the west coast. But the fact is that the cod on the west coast of the island, the south coast are in a critical zone. Harvesters on the west coast, and this is their livelihood, they're tied up at the wharf. We have to do all that we can, and people said this loud and clear in the survey. We have to also be careful on conservation and sustainability. We want cod to come back on the west coast, the south coast, so the rules are the same across the island, but they're not. And so we have to create the balance, and the balance is you fish the 3 days. It's open for the 2 months, so there's the ability to be able to plan your summer, but at the same time, we have to allow the cod to come back to a healthy zone. And so the balance is, I think, the way for us to move forward. It aligns with what I heard in the survey, and I also want to support harvesters, because this is their livelihood, and I certainly hear from them what this means in terms of how they are able to care for their families.
Yeah. Okay. And I just follow up on that. I guess the pushback I get is locking it into 3 days: a Saturday, a Monday, and a Tuesday, when you know what the weather can be like. So they have that opportunity, but the Tuesday's bad, the next day is great. Was there ever any consideration for a flexibility around which days of the week they could do that on the west and south coasts?
At the end of the day, to be able to manage this, it's easier, much more transparent to have set days. Setting it, for the 2 months, for the full summer, allows for flexibility. And we continue to follow the science, and I really look forward to a day when the cod stocks in the island are all in a healthy zone.
When you say easier, do you mean easier for the administration of it, or?
Easier for people to follow the schedule.
Okay. So limited time. I'll have to leave that one there. On Marine Atlantic, I'm sure you've been following this issue, the concerns and there's a lot of concern and worry about whether or not the Canadian Industrial Relations Board would ever entertain some of what the union is asking for here regarding scaling back any of that service, which would be absolutely devastating, as I don't need to tell you, for businesses, for food, for sustainability, for cost of living, for medical supplies. It goes on and on and on. Is there any chance in any world that the Marine Atlantic service could be reduced from what it is right now? Under any circumstance, strike or otherwise?
Let me So let me reassure viewers, or listeners rather, that I certainly realize how important this is to us in the province. And I also want people to know that, the government, we're watching this closely. But we do need to allow the negotiations and the process to continue. And at the end of the day, I'm going to encourage both sides, stay at the table. The best deals happen at a table, and they need to continue that process. And we will all continue to watch this very closely.
Do you have any input or any say or any kind of pull with this? Because I noticed there's, of all the board members with the Canadian Industrial Relations, with the board, I think I could only find one Newfoundlander there. I think her name is Sheila Murphy, and she's an external adjudicator, I believe. And some might say there's only one person there. Maybe the concerns that you are aware of might not be reflected throughout the board. Is there any concern on that end?
What I would say to you is that I trust the system. We're watching it closely. I encourage people to stay at the table, and I think to speak beyond that at this point takes away from the integrity of the negotiation process. So I just encourage all to stay in dialogue, stay at that table, and the best deals happen there.
Okay. And look, last one, quick. Not easy to do quick, but I do know that you, I think, have endorsed the rescue plan for the belugas, the remaining whales, some to be split up and sent to Valencia, Spain, 1 or 4 U.S. locations, I think in Atlanta, Chicago, maybe California and Texas. When did this decision, when was it made? And can you just explain a little bit of how it will work, how we managed to get to this point?
So, yes, absolutely. So under the Fisheries Act, I am, as Fisheries Minister, responsible for issuing permits. And I've been really clear on that from, day one. And under that authorization or that responsibility, the health of the whales going forward is what's most important. So I did issue quite a number of months ago a permit based on 2 points. One, the transportation plan, and the other, veterinarian clearance for the belugas to travel.
Right.
So I did issue the first set of permits based on a transportation plan recently, and certainly satisfied that the sites are accredited. They will provide a safe, respectful place for the belugas to live out their lives. And I will wait for the permits on the health checks prior to travel.
Yeah, I think the concern of even the risk of having them euthanized was just abhorring to a lot of the public because we couldn't find the proper home for them. Just on your own, last question here, on your own personal opinion, what do you make of whales in captivity?
Look, I think it is a very dark part of our history, and they belong in the wild. Regrettably, these belugas have been left as part of in places that really, I visited the site last summer, and I knew then they needed to move, but so I was pleased to see the transportation plan. Very pleased to see that we are moving forward. An important step was made with transportation, and I really look forward to seeing the belugas in their new sites. And
I may have lied. I'm really sorry. The last thing will be just to ask you if there's any room at all for flexibility. Would there be any other changes? People have been openly musing on the food fishery that you might revisit. You might have another look at something this year. Is it just done for this year? What is? This
year is in place, and decisions going forward will be made on science, on the health of the stock.
Minister MP and for St. John's East MP Joanne Thompson, and the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans, and responsible for Coast Guard. I know you're not busy at all, so I really appreciate the time today. Enjoy your trip home and your stay home away from big old Ottawa.
Thank you. It'll be a short one, but a couple of weeks I'll be back for longer, so I look forward to chatting over the summer.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's welcome to Open Line, on line number 6, Dr. Annie Mercier with the Memorial University's Ocean Science Center in Logie Bay, researcher right down there. And good morning, Dr. Mercier.
Good morning to you.
How are you on this Friday?
Pretty good, actually.
I look at topics sometimes that we cover on this program, and sea cucumber wasn't the first one that came to mind today, but I have some experience with that on a particular fisheries broadcast show once upon a time. So we're going to talk zombie sea cucumber, and specifically the tissue that we found, I guess, a breakthrough of sorts, that you've learned that tissue can survive. I love the fact that, why do we call it zombie?
Well, it actually came up during the study because, we're not sure exactly what it is between life and death. So it's, as you mentioned, it's a tiny piece, a tiny fragment of a specific sea cucumber called the scarlet sea cucumber. And we've discovered over the years that it can actually be living for a long time, and perhaps, forever, once it's cut off from the host animal. So it's quite intriguing, but we're not sure if we can call it alive per se, because it's not coming back to a full sea cucumber or not reproducing or doing anything like that. But we found that the tissues are alive in the way that they absorb nutrients, they continue to grow, they show cellular activity and immune activity. So it's a life of some sort, but we're not sure exactly what.
Yeah, and I guess obviously the question that comes, and people say, oh, well, they're into the weeds now on various species or otherwise, but no, I mean, this goes right to the heart of, as you mentioned in a release that was on the boundaries between life and death. Can this in some way be parallel to humans?
Well, it's a good question. So for us, it was, as I mentioned, a discovery, curiosity-based, and then, with the expertise that we have here at the lab, we said, we need to do a formal study, and Sarah Jobson, a PhD student here, kind of undertook that study, and it went on for over 3 years. And we decided, we can't keep these things. We need to publish and kind of share it with the world. And so that's the study that came out in Science Advances, and now we're not sure exactly where it will lead. We're going to continue to investigate exactly what's going on, look at the mechanisms behind this, what is enabling these tissues to survive for so long, indefinitely, it seems. And I guess other folks, now that we've shared it, can also have a look maybe for biomedical applications, the aging, the science of aging, and all of that. Certainly it can, we don't know where it will lead.
Yeah, look, on a really large and high-level scale, I'm thinking of, most of us assume that, say the severing of the spinal cord in a human being can be the end of that. And so, I mean, as far as regenerating lost body parts, that wasn't news, right? I mean, the fact that sea cucumbers can regenerate parts that come apart or fall apart or are separated from the body of the cucumber. But the issue was you just assumed that it just doesn't last. It doesn't live, right? That it would quickly die. But now that seems not the case. Is that fair?
Yeah, so the thing is that sea cucumbers have powerful regenerative abilities. We know that they can expel their internal organs and regrow them. They can lose a limb and regrow it. But that's the organism, the animal itself. And so what we discovered is the other side of this is what happens to the tissue or the limb that's lost. So a little bit like the lizard, they can lose their tail and regrow them. But what happens to the tail? It decays. It goes away. That there's no future for this. But what we found is that these tissues, once they were shed by the sea cucumbers on their own, away from the host, they actually continued to live in natural seawater, so not even helped with, being really careful with the conditions. No, in natural seawater, they continued to live on, and what sort of life, we don't know, so that's why we call them zombies.
Yeah, well, I wonder, will there be any great sea cucumber zombie costumes this Halloween? I'm just throwing that out there. The other thing I was going to ask, and going back to my days of hosting the fisheries show on another network, I remember maybe 20 years ago, I had conversations with scientists talking about the invasive nature of sea cucumbers. I'm just wondering, and they were almost spoken in the same breath as green crab in some places. I'm wondering, what is the role and how important are sea cucumbers to the ecosystem?
So sea cucumbers are really, really important. There's a lot of different species of sea cucumbers that perform numerous different roles in the sea. Some of them kind of rework the sediment a little bit like earthworms, so they oxygenate the sediment. Others can actually buffer the seawater, so acting, against ocean acidification, and others really participate in exchanging the nutrients between the water column and the sea floor. So they're really, really important. And actually, right now, a lot of them are also commercial. So they're harvested in various parts of the world. And so that leads to really high threats for these species. I'm also on the IUCN. I'm chairing the IUCN SSC specialist group on sea cucumbers, and we've assessed them for the red list, the IUCN red list. And a lot of the species currently have an endangered or some sort of threatened status on the red list. So it tells us, that they're really at risk. And so we have commercial sea cucumbers here in Newfoundland.
Yeah, but
they're
unfortunately,
not among those that are.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that fishery in 3PS is currently closed, is it not?
No, it's still ongoing, I believe, as far as I know. But it's a large fishery. It's a different types of sea cucumber that we're talking about, and so there's no threat there. They're quite abundant still. But we need to be cautious because elsewhere in the world, the fisheries around sea cucumbers are not going very, very well. And as I said, these sea cucumbers play various very important roles, so they are important, and we need to take care. And as we discussed just a moment ago, they can also have secrets, that may help us in various ways, and so we need to be careful with them.
Yeah, they remind me of like how we just examine fossils to see what and the potential. But I have the fisheries minister, federal fisheries minister, scheduled to be on the program later. Maybe I can just double check because I'm pretty sure that it's like in a holding pattern currently in 3PS. I think they haven't put out a date. I know some people, harvesters, are probably listening to this, so I don't think there are opening dates yet. I don't think they've been determined, but we'll see anyway. Maybe I can get an update from the fisheries minister.
For sure.
Yeah, and you have an event, do you not? Coming up on, is it Saturday? Did I see? I just want to go back and.
Well. Yeah, as you know, the
Yes.
World Oceans Day is really coming up, and I know there's a lot of different activities all around, but I know of one at the Marine Institute of Memorial University, so it's we're the Ocean Sciences Center in Logie Bay, but the Marine Institute, also part of Memorial, is actually closer to the main campus and holding an event tomorrow, I guess on Saturday. But us, we're going to be there. Some people from the OSC are going to be there with some live animals, I believe. And I think maybe even the lead author, Sarah Jobson, might be there. And so around lunchtime or thereabout, maybe between 11 and 1. So if people want to see what a sea cucumber looks like, it's a great opportunity and to discuss all sorts of things around World Ocean Day.
Yeah, great education for it. Kids love that, and touch tanks and all that kind of sort of fun stuff that are down at the Ocean Science Center. But of course, this is at the Marine Institute in St. John's tomorrow. Let's see, from 10 a.m. to 3. And it's family friendly, of course. Tomorrow afternoon, 10 to 3. As you said, around noontime too would be great if you want to specifically get into the world of sea cucumbers and all of the implications for our ecosystem and humans maybe even. So I really appreciate this today. Dr. Mercier, thanks so much for making time for the show.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go right to line number 3. And Patsy, you're on the air.
Hi, this is my first time calling with you, and I'm calling to do a thank you for everybody who helped with a fundraiser this past week called Leave a Lie Down. Our fundraiser was to make money for suicide prevention, this assist program. And I wanted to thank everybody who was involved. I'm not going to name people individually because there was a lot of people that came out to help.
And this was at Plaza Boa last week, right? Last week, and in memory of, I will tell you, a friend of mine who was a friend of mine. Karen Stringer was a friend of mine. I knew her for many years, especially through, various downtown exploits. And she was working at one of the bars that I used to regularly attend. But we just became great friends. Of course, that whole group of friends, So it was so tragic when I learned, like as a reporter, I was covering the discovery of a body in Bowring Park, and to find out that it was Karen really jolted me, as I'm sure it did yourself and everyone else who knew her.
Well, I'm Karen's mom, and yes, it certainly jolted us all. And
jolt's too easy a word here. It devastated us. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, I better get on with what I called to say, because it would take a lot out of me, and thank you for telling me about your connection. Anyway, I'm calling for two reasons. One, to say thank you to everybody who helped with this event the weekend. The second thing is to let people know, if you're worried about somebody who is struggling, take the Assist training program. Call Tina Davis. You can find Tina Davis on Richard's Legacy, at Richard's Legacy. And if you've lost somebody, to keep an eye out to those that are left, because sometimes that gives other people options. And yeah, suicide is pretty scary, and when you have this training is world renowned, and I wish I had known about it earlier. I can tell you, Tina Davis has been a lifesaver. She set up a program of support for other people who have lost someone. She lost her son 30 years ago, 20-odd years ago. She set up this, and it saves lives. People support each other, and Tina has set up a place where we come together, we hold each other, we
comfort each other, relate to each other, everything that comes with the devastation of losing someone. And Patsy, I can't imagine, and I'm so sorry. I mean, especially being so close to the anniversary of Karen's passing and having this fundraiser. I'm sure the people listening, are amazed at your strength to think of other people, to thank other people at times like this, everything you're going through. I'm sure they appreciate it. And I just want you to know I have all of Tina's contact information that I'll pass along before we end our phone call here today.
Thank you. And it's been the people that have held me up this past 2 years. It's, Karen's class, Mobile Central High class, where everybody, Sundance, you name Light and Power, you name where Karen's been, and they've been here, Anyway, I didn't want to get into thanking individuals because I was afraid I'd forget somebody, so I'm just going to say thank you to everybody again and leave it at that.
Again, Tina, I can't tell you, and I know we haven't spoken, we haven't met, but I just want you to know what a bright light Karen was. Even, we would see each other like ships or whatever, but we knew each other well enough, first name, and we knew each other, and just it just absolutely shocks one when you find a person like that and such a bright light. And I can't imagine what you're going through as a family. And we need to have these conversations. We need to talk more. The Richard's Legacy Foundation for Survivors of Suicide Loss Support Group meetings, those are invaluable. And I don't need to tell you, but people need to know that, there is all kinds of support no matter what you're going through. And, just to at least open a conversation with someone who might be able to give you some hope and at least direct you in another area, such as the Richard's Legacy Foundation, that can it may just be that part that saves someone's life,
Yeah.
It's horrific that people are struggling on their own. So look, Tina Davies, as you mentioned, the easiest way is a phone call, and I've got that number here for people. It's 709-351-4038. And as you said, the Richard's Legacy. Now, there's an email. It's a little more complicated, but that number is probably the easiest. And if anyone wants more information about Richard's Legacy Foundation, they can go on the Bridge the Gap website. There's a Facebook page there, of course. And as well, we have Tina's number here and her email. Once again, 709-351-4038. 4038. And Patsy, I hope you're doing okay, and I hope you have the support, and I'm sure you do. I'm sure you felt it last week.
I will tell you one other thing. The suicide meetings, Copenhagen for Richard's Legacy meeting,
yes,
for people who've lost somebody, are every Tuesday night, and that can also be every Monday night, and that can also be found on Richard's Legacy.
Yeah, 7:30 on Mondays, and I think it's at the Topsail Road location, correct?
Yes, that is.
878 Topsail Road.
That's it. I'm so glad you know your stuff.
Well, when it comes, and especially when it comes, I'm still shocked, and I haven't spoken to you before, and I didn't realize you were Karen's mother when I picked up the phone. So, what can I say? Look, just know that she was too valuable to lose, and I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
And I hope you're doing okay. Yeah, absolutely. And I hope you're okay, and people should latch on to that Richard's Legacy Foundation and connect even with yourself. Maybe people need to talk to you. We all need to talk to each other about these things. Thank you so much, Patsy.
Thank you.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go to line number 6, and Sue, you're on the air.
I am.
Hi.
Thank you.
Morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
I am doing very well for a Friday morning, and 40.
Yes, we're all looking forward to the weekend.
We are, all of us, most of us are. What's up?
Well, we're hosting a World Labyrinth Day, celebrating all of the concerns that we have around our oceans and ocean health. Mm-hmm. This is a day that's been observed by the UN. In fact, it was a Canadian delegation that brought the idea to the UN for, about a decade or so now. And, of course, over that decade, our concerns about ocean health and the way in which the ocean interacts with air quality and support of marine life, and certainly in Newfoundland, our vast history around ocean fishery, the seal hunt, and so on and so on. On it goes. We have such an affinity for concerns about the ocean. So, down at the Anglican Cathedral, 16 Church Hill, they installed a labyrinth a couple of years ago that is actually one of a series of labyrinths around the world called Legacy Labyrinths. They're in South America, all of North America. There are 3 that are Canadian, one in Toronto, one in Saskatchewan, and we're the one that is featuring really ocean health. And you might say, well, that's all one group of what is a labyrinth. And it's just a walking meditation, a very old archetype, actually many thousands of years old. And it's found on every continent in the world. It's not a maze. It's not a design that is intended to confuse. It's actually intended to help us relax and take time out to consider something that is deep about our life. And many, many people are concerned about the environment and about the state of the oceans, our industries that are affected by the oceans. And so this is a time to sort of just come and become acquainted, for one thing, with the labyrinth and walking it, and do so with a little introduction that'll happen at the beginning of the session, which actually runs from 2 to 3:30 Sunday afternoon. There'll be a little introduction to some of the issues and ways in which we can become more aware, but not necessarily more agitated, but more hopeful, more effective, perhaps, in ways in which we hope to contribute to ocean health in our province.
Yeah, there's more and more, I notice, labyrinths these days, and that doesn't surprise me. One installed in Bowring Park there a couple of years ago I was at, and the meditation and mindfulness and just reflection that you can have once you understand the meaning of it, why you're there. They talk about the paths that lead to the center and back out again without any wrong turns, and that's very in your consciousness. You can't make a wrong turn here.
You can't do it wrong.
Yeah.
There's no way to do it wrong, and that is really a comfort when we're doing something we maybe haven't done before, or we feel anxious about the situations that are occupying our mind. It is, and you're great. You know all about this.
Oh. Well, I'm just old. I'm getting old. That's all. Eventually, but I will say this: in the current, dynamic and the current situation we are on Earth. And, all the talk of resources and Beta Nord and all these other issues. I see where Sierra Club lost a little bit of a battle in the courts, trying to somehow put a pause on the Beta Nord and trying to impress upon the importance of the oceans and how this could set us back, and talking about, it may have cleared a legal hurdle, which was, the science is clear they talk about. So, obviously the concerns of the environmentalists at Sierra Club are real, but it just speaks to, the concerns that still exist out there when we talk about the juxtaposition of trying to stabilize our economy without destroying the planet and our oceans. And, anyone who thinks critical mineral mining is any more green or environmentally friendly than drilling for oil should read up.
Oh, no. Yeah, and we've turned our ocean into real estate.
Yes.
We are seriously encroaching upon the wild, both on the earth and in the waters, and we don't fully understand what it is we're disturbing and what it is we're destroying. And I think it's just a continuous search for balance. And the labyrinth is all about balance. There are exactly the same number of right and left-hand turns in the labyrinth. It's all about balancing us emotionally, physically, mentally. And, the famous Vietnamese Zen Buddhist, I guess, meditation teacher Thich Nhat Hanh used to say, become peace, be peace. And how do we do that? There's so many stressors and so many things that distract and upset. How do we become peace, be peace? And the labyrinth is just one of those very simple, user-friendly exercises that promotes that very outcome.
Agreed. And, at a time like this, when just a few things are on our minds about the environment and about the economy and about, we can use more labyrinths. There's absolutely no question about that. Sue, I appreciate the phone call. Did you want anything, just want to clue up with? I got a bunch there I'm trying to get to. So
just to say that the Anglican Cathedral is a very friendly place to come, a beautiful place on the inside. And this is an initiative that is an intersection between the parish and the community, and everyone is welcome. And I think you'll find it a very enjoyable place to be.
And this is Sunday, correct?
Sunday afternoon, yes, from 2 to 3:30. And
Perfect.
Enter in the stone porch on Gower Street. You'll see a sandwich board out on Gower Street, right on the corner there.
That's the one way there, as opposed to on Churchill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So come on in. We've even got a garden labyrinth. If the weather is fine, anyone is welcome to go and use that as well.
Yeah, looking pretty good Sunday, so that's great. Thanks so much, Sue.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. Bye-bye now.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Go to line number one and speak with Bill about the proposed school bell changes, or if you prefer, start and end times. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning. Yeah.
Hi.
It's Bill Madigan.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
Right. Goodbye. Yeah. So congratulations on your new job.
Thank you very much. I know we've had some great chats in person too, so I appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a couple issues came up. While I was waiting, and the person called about Trump and stuff, and I think. Everyone gets affected by that Trump. That Trump is almost like a Trump shadow, or the Trump effect, and that whole right-wing movement, and this. I mean, even here, now we got a drill government now. That's why let's call it what it is, right?
Absolutely.
And then you got people that are, like poor people or homeless people. You hear a lot of talk about forced rehab and lock them up and all this kind of stuff. So that stuff is around here. That sentiment and that attitude is here as well.
Absolutely. Right? Some would say it's bleeding right into Alberta right now, and the whole discussion about separation. They're just sitting back licking their chops.
Yeah, because I was on the Facebook thing, and people are, they were trash talking end homelessness because of the the exorbitant rent that was paid there. But that's not, they're just the people that are treating and helping out the homeless people. They're getting trash talked, because of that thing, and it's pretty. I find it really offensive, and but there you go, right? That's that's bleeding into our own Newfoundland society, right?
It is to an extent, Bill. And look, if anybody wants to trash talk, let's put them in those shoes, people of end homelessness and the Doug Pawsons of the world for a day, and see the kind of yeoman work they're doing to try to make this society, our society, and for people who are homeless and in the most dire of straits, to make things better for them, which in turn can make things better for everybody. So anyway, I don't want to take up all your time. Go for it.
I know, but I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
What really got me wanted to call today was about is an initiative is it Infrastructure and Works?
Yeah, Transportation and Infrastructure. It's their bailiwick. Yep.
Okay, well, that sounds like the tail wagging the dog,
I thought about that too, Bill, be honest.
Really, I mean, they're providing an ancillary service, of getting the children to school, right? And, I can remember this. I came up about, because in St. John's here, our children went to Brother Rice, but they were expected to start half an hour or maybe even an hour earlier than other kids in the city. And I don't know what it was like for you when you were growing up, but Jesus, I couldn't pull myself out of bed at 8:30 in the morning sometimes, and so if unless the parents are really keen and you're getting the child up at, I don't know, might have to be 6:30 now or 7 o'clock. I mean, that's going to be a real struggle, right? I mean, it's what about the kids, and what about all these? I keep saying what about, but I mean, we heard about absenteeism. And the problem that our education system is, if you can get the child into school, then that's half the battle, And then once you get the child there, then it needs to be interesting for them, for them to succeed, And the child needs a high school diploma, just on the bare minimum, And there's all different paths to get that high school diploma, but. Just to get into a basic trades program, you got to have that diploma, right? So I'm not. I think it's awful that they would try to roll back and do that. I think you probably increase absenteeism, and for struggling kids.
Yeah, it does seem to be a bit of disconnect. So yeah, it is the Transportation Works Department because that's the transportation side of it, the busing system. Now the NL Schools is behind, of course, the survey, and it's Student Transportation Division within NL Schools. So it's not like the Transportation Works is doing it in a vacuum. So it is in consultation with NL Schools, and NL Schools has provided the survey to staff, students, and families across all of the systems that are affected. And again, I should repeat, because I know that they want to hear this, it's not for the coming school year, not this school year or the coming school year. It's for 2027, 2028. So
whenever it is. Yeah, I think it's terrible, and for them to entertain it, that's like what's going on in Alberta. They're going to have a referendum on whether they're going to have a referendum. It's kind of almost it's kind of smells like that.
Well, the reason, and the reason they're doing that is so they don't have the duty to consult, right? Yeah.
How are they framing this? What are supposed advantage? I thought the whole thing was about performance of children in education and success.
And that's the issue I have with it, because this is all they're framing it in the world of efficient bus routes, dealing with just being able to use the resources, transportation resources, buses and that sort of thing, to be able to better serve across the board. But it's strictly about that. It's about the efficiency of the bus, the system, how it runs, parking lots. They're looking at traffic flows and people getting in and out of the schools at different times of the day. So there's a lot of talk about that, but really there was no talk in the initial announcement about, and this will affect students how? This will affect parents how? And that's the survey part. So let's just hope, look, at first blush, Bill, the pushback is real, but I would say that this is a process that the government has gone down with consultation, and we're always crying out for that. So it is a year out.
Yeah,
I think.
I think they're wasting their money, and they could be, and they're wasting their money, and I think it's terrible that they would even consider this, and they got all their PR people now. They're going to try and sell this thing. And and at the same time, we're talking about reducing their absenteeism in school and things like that. Now, I've had children in the school system. I've been a student myself, So, and I think this stinks, and I think they should just put this back in the box where it belongs, and that's and put the money in the classroom instead of on this stupid survey, to increase efficiency of bus routes and parking lots and stuff like that. I mean, like I know sometimes on the parking lot it can be a little tricky and that, but it don't matter what time of the day it is. When everyone's showing up to drop their kids, it's going to be the same thing. I don't. Anyway, that's my rant for the day.
And it is greatly appreciated, and I know you're speaking for a lot of people out there. I will just say again that at least there's a preemptive strike here, and they're asking for people's opinions on it. And if the early returns are any indication, there probably a lot of them are in the same boat as you. So, Bill, I appreciate the call. Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend.
Okay. Thanks for the time.
Okay,
yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Listen, one more. Can I get one more question?
Sure, go for it. Quick.
Do you ever do any Lou Reed when you're performing?
Absolutely, I love Lou Reed.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I like to
take a walk on the wild side, baby.
No, there is no time off the New York album. You know that one?
Yes, I do. That's great. You should come to karaoke some night at Georgetown. I'll do one for you.
All right, buddy. Okay.
Thanks again, Bill. Appreciate the call.
Okay, bye now.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go to line number 5, and Corona, you're on the air.
Oh, good afternoon, I guess now.
Almost 4 minutes to go.
4 minutes,
Which is how much time we have. I'm really sorry.
Okay, that's okay. And congratulations on your position. You're doing a great job there.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I was so disappointed with the news about the school in Cartwright and the cancellation of the program there for that school. And being an educator for 47 years, I have been in many schools, and the schools that I taught in myself, they're built in the 60s and 70s, and they do get run down. And I can only sympathize with what Lisa Dempster is going through and her community up there. There are 60-odd students there that deserve, and that's the word, a good school like anybody else in this province. We have schools in our province that have as little as 6 students and that are thriving. And we can't give this school the proper facility to be educated and promote their careers. And what's worse than being in a building that's aesthetically not fit? So, I'd like for Barry Penton and Paul Dinn to relook at this decision. They really need this. You need it for spirit. You need it for the goodness of the children and the community. So I hope they could revise their budget in some way to have this school for them.
Well, that's the plan. And you said, they deserve a good school. That seems to be the plan. Yes. And this all comes down to cost, clearly. It was a reassessment of the tender, a reassessment of how it was awarded, a reassessment of the work that's been done to date. And the contractor themselves, while they have said, they can appreciate it's a financial and a budget crunch time for the government, they have themselves noted that the, substantial issues would have been required for costly remediation. Same with the building in Stephenville Crossing. They noted that it was only partially designed at the time of the actual tender. There were inaccuracies, they say, the contractor does, not the government, contained in the original partial design. And there were other issues that they identified. Look, I completely agree. It's easy, someone will say, for a guy from town who's got access to 6 or 7 schools for his kid to go to say, hey, look, this is the right decision, and it'll be done eventually. There are other options. They're looking at prefab and all that sort of thing. But, at some point, this government was elected for their due diligence to look back at decisions that may have been made, whether it was the MOU, which they, either we trust them or believe them or we don't, and that's where we are today in the world. I'm inclined to think, these are human beings with families and kids of their own in government. They see a problem here that the money might have not gone to the best way for this to be done. And there may be a delay, but as you said right off top, they need a good school. And, we have to rely, I'm no geotechnical engineer, but by all accounts, if we can get a firm timeline, I have no problem with them going back and looking at previous decisions to determine whether or not the due diligence was done, whether or not we're getting the best bang for our buck. And again, I've said here before, I'm not going to come on one. It's got nothing to do with my allegiances. I don't have any allegiance.
Yeah.
I'm seeing for what it is. It's a tough decision, and Minister Petton alluded to that himself. I'm really so sorry. I'm right at the end of it, but I'll give you your last chat, and hopefully we can talk again next week.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Yes, and I appreciate your understanding. Sorry about the time, but yeah, that's where it is.
Problem.
And let's continue this next week because the news cycle is like that. Shouldn't fall off the radar at all.
Yes, thank you so much. Take care.
And thanks, Corona, for understanding. Again, a great week here. Thanks, everyone, for the kindness. I really appreciate it in this day and age. It could easily go the other way, so I appreciate the patience and the kindness. And do what I always do. Drive safely, arrive alive. VOCM cares.